Hello and welcome to another Wednesday Weekly as a part of the Lakehead International Live series. For those of you who haven't joined us before, my name is Jordan. I am the International New and Social Media Officer at Lakehead University. So today we'll be joined with our undergraduate and graduate admissions teams to answer your application and admissions related questions. We also have a few folks from international enrollment to answer general questions about Lakehead University. Of course, we're here to provide an opportunity for you to connect with us and ask your important questions. To chat a bit about the Lakehead International Live series before we get going, earlier this week we were joined by the Academic Support Zone. So we met up with Shannon and Kayla, both from the Thunder Bay and Aurelia campus, to chat about the different academic support systems and programs in place to help you reach your academic and personal goals while studying at Lakehead. Yesterday on Instagram Live, we were joined by Yi-Chen, and a student from China who is currently studying concurrent education, as well as chemistry. Tomorrow we'll be joined by Jonathan, who is from Mexico, and he's studying biotechnology at Lakehead. And then on Friday, we will be meeting up with we're lucky enough to have the Dean of the Faculty of Education, Dr. Wayne Melville, joining us to chat about the entire faculty. So we're very excited to have those conversations. And then starting off next week, our very own guest today, Natalie, will be joining us once again to actually chat about how to apply to an undergraduate program. So if we do have viewers that are currently considering applying to Lakehead, there are a few undergraduate programs that are still accepting applications, and we're going to walk through that process. And we'll also chat about, of course, updated admission requirements, how to submit documents, policies, procedures, all that sort of stuff. But I will jump right into it. Things to remember today throughout the webinar. If you do have questions for our undergraduate or graduate admissions teams, they are separate teams on our campus and they do their own admissions. So if you are pursuing undergraduate studies, you can connect with that team at intl.admission@lakeheadu. If you're pursuing graduate studies, you can connect with that team at gstudent@lakeheadu.ca. If you do have any questions and you're joining us from Zoom, you can use the Q&A function to submit those questions and we'll be happy to address them, either by answering live or by chat. If you're joining us on Facebook, you can also use the comment section to submit those, and our Lakehead experts that are actually behind the scenes will be answering questions too. If you're watching this as a recording, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, you can always comment on the video still, and we will receive the notification and we'll certainly get back to you. Last but not least, before we dive into some of the questions, I'd like to remind our viewers to stay connected with us and follow us on our social media channels. So we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, as well for those joining from China. We're also on Weibo, WeChat, and Youku. It's a great way to stay connected, learn about upcoming events, virtual events like this one, but also we do post major announcements out of the university with regards to any changes for the upcoming semester, any important updates, that sort of stuff. Without further ado, though, I will head over to the Q&A section to start reviewing the questions, and we will dive right into it. So the first question comes from a student who is going to be entering the Masters of Computer Science, and they would like to know a bit more details about winter 2021 intake. So I will pass it over to our Graduate Studies Admissions Officer, Susan White, to answer that.
Thanks, Jordan. So for computer science, winter 2021, again, this is just a new term. So this term doesn't usually occur, and it's just an exception to the COVID. So I believe it will continue as usual. And the best course of action to know exactly all the details about your program is to contact the program directly. So the graduate coordinator of the program would be able to answer your questions. Or you can email gstudent@lakeheadu.ca, and they can forward your information to the appropriate department for more help.
Awesome, thank you so much. So the next question is going to be for Natalie in undergraduate admissions. It is from Nisarj. So it says, hi, I am currently under the process of my first year's fee payments. Can we get an unconditional offer letter after paying fees for visa application purposes? They do, of course, in undergraduate admissions need the CBSE results for those sort of offer letters to be submitted. So I will let Natalie kind of answer that.
Sure, great. Thank you so much, Jordan. And thank you for your question. So if you have already graduated from high school and have your final CBSE results, you can send us your digital locker CBSE results. We will verify those results and we can issue you an unconditional offer at that time. If you are still in progress and you will be writing your board results and you do not have those results, I believe they will be released in August. So in August, we would ask that you would do the same thing. Send us your digital locker CBSE results. You can either upload those to your MyInfo account using the documents upload function, or you can send those to intl.admission@lakeheadu.ca, and Jordan has our email address on the screen. And then at that time, we will assess your final results to ensure you've met your admission conditions. And at that time, we will issue an unconditional offer. However, if you have not graduated yet, unfortunately, we cannot issue an unconditional offer until you have met your admission conditions. However, maybe I will let Patrick weigh in on applying for a visa with the conditional offer, because I'm not too familiar with that, but perhaps Patrick can speak to that.
Thanks, Natalie, and thank you for this question as well. In most cases, students can apply for their visa with an unconditional offer. If you visit the Canadian government webpage on study permits and entry visas, there is in fact a list of documents that you can present, and a conditional offer is one of those things that you can present to the Canadian government. So we encourage all of our applicants at this time to start their visa application online, as many visa processing centers are closed still right now, but the application process is online and it is still functioning, and applications are moving through there directly. So in summary, please do start for your visa application process, and it is okay to use a conditional letter or unconditional letter for that process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalie and Patrick, for giving a well-rounded answer there and speaking to both aspects of that question. The next question I have, it will be for Robert. It is, is ancillary fees going to be waived for fall 2020 for international students? So I'll let him speak to what Lakehead is considering with that.
Great, thanks, Jordan. And thank you for the question, Alankrit. So basically, one thing I want to make sure that everyone is aware, the university on Friday announced additional FAQ responses on our COVID-19 website. So if you visit the main Lakehead University website, you can actually click on the link there for COVID-19 resources. And there are up-to-date FAQs with responses to try and address a number of the key questions that have been coming out of students, agents, parents, you name it, who have questions about this upcoming fall semester. This is a perfect example of one of those questions. So what we know is that if you are attending Lakehead this fall, but not attending in person, there are a number of ancillary fees that you will not be required to pay, since you won't be on campus accessing those services. So a perfect example would be athletics. You would not be paying athletics fees to access those gym facilities, because of course you won't have access to them. The exact list of which fees will be waived and which will not is currently being examined and being prepared for students. So there will be an adjustment when it comes to ancillary fees. Like I said, they're just working through that process right now to determine exactly which of those fees. Ancillary fees they comes as one dollar amount. What you see on your, of course, your bill is a single fee that's there. But inside that one fee is a myriad of fees that are contained within there. And so each one of those individual small fees is being examined to determine which ones will be waived and not subject to the student for paying, versus those that are still required, because you can still access those services. So again, we are in the process of working that out. But yes, you can anticipate that the ancillary fees will be reduced for students who are studying online.
Thank you so much, Robert. So the next question I have is actually for Natalie, and it's with regards to kind of upgrading courses. So the student would like to know, If they cannot achieve their academic average of 60% in their course currently, what should they do? Because they have already applied for an undergraduate program and they would like to join for September 2020. So I'll let Natalie speak to what we recommend in admissions if you do need to do upgrading within your courses.
Great. So thank you for your question. So I think your question is quite specific. I'm not quite sure if you do have an offer of admission already or if you are still in the application stage, but it does sound like you have already been given an offer. But we can definitely look into your case further. If you are a university transfer student, which would be required to have the minimum 60% average, then depending on your country, then we would change that average depending on the grading scale in your specific institution and in your country. So let's say, for example, 60 in many countries is not a 60 here in Canada. So I would like to look into your specific case more in depth before giving you a specific answer and advice. So if you can send me an email, that would be great. If you can just provide your name and your student ID and I can have a look. Our email is on the screen, intl.admission@lakeheadu.ca. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalie. So the next question I have is for graduate studies and Susan White. The question is, I have submitted a soft copy of my transcripts for the Master's of Science in Computer Science program. As I was planning to take this term online, meaning the upcoming fall 2020 term, will they be eligible to register with a soft copy of transcripts? And what does that process look like for submitting final official transcripts as well?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the question, Lankrit. This is a very good question and something that we have just ironed out lately. So you will be able to register for the fall term on your unofficial documents if you send us an email. We can check that out and we can issue you an unconditional offer of admission if we're happy and satisfied with the documents you have uploaded. So the unofficial documents are very clear, we can read them, that's okay. And then we do have a deadline of November 1st though to have your final official transcripts. So we do need to get those documents by that time, otherwise you will have to be inactivated from your program. So this again is an exception to our rule. It's a very tenuous exception, so we're being very, very careful with that. So I do recommend you email gstudent@lakeheadu.ca with your application ID number, tell them exactly what you're looking for. So you're looking for that unconditional offer letter, and then that will prompt the process of us to review the documents that you've already uploaded and to see if we can accept those until the 1st of November.
Awesome, and I know that that question was also addressed, like Robert mentioned, in those updated FAQs or frequently asked questions on our coronavirus webpage. So if you do visit lakeheadu.ca/about/coronavirus, if I'm not mistaken, let me take a quick peek. That link is at the bottom of your screen right now on there. So if you visit that webpage, those are updated FAQs already. So if you have any more, if you need more clarity or you want to read it for yourself, the same information is also listed there. So I have another question for Sue in graduate studies with regards to the Masters of Science in Computer Science offering its first winter intake. They would like to know if it's going to be similar to the fall intake with regards to courses and subjects.
So I've already sort of answered this question. I believe this person is looking for some clarification, which unfortunately I can't give because we have so many different programs that we deal with in the Faculty of Graduate Studies. And at the graduate level, you'll have to go directly to the program to figure out what courses they're offering and when. So you have to remember that there is still the September 2020 intake for computer science that will be online. So those courses will not likely be repeated again in the winter, but you will absolutely be able to take courses that will apply towards your degree. It just might not be the same ones that are offered in September. But for further clarification on this, 100%, please email gstudent@lakeheadu.ca and they can forward your inquiry to the appropriate department. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your clarification, Sue. So the next question I have is for Robert. It is with regards to another Canadian university that has given unconditional offers based on predicted student grades. And they would like to know if Lakehead can offer the same unconditional offer with predicted grades.
Hi, Jordan. Thanks for the question. Unfortunately, this was submitted anonymously, so I don't know who the student is that submitted it, but thank you for the question. Every university has the right to control and manage their admissions, and they retain that right to do that. And how universities make those decisions, how they decide to offer an offer of admission, whether it's conditional, unconditional, will be governed by the policies that are set by the Senate of that institution. So it's not up to me to comment on the practices of another institution and what they are doing. Of course, we have no specifics here in your question relating to your particular circumstances. And my best advice to you would be for you to be in touch with the admissions office, whether that's a graduate admission or an undergraduate. It's not clear here either in your question. And certainly they can look at your individual scenario. At the end of the day, Lakehead University has taken a stance that predicted grades, while they can be beneficial in helping us understand a student's eligibility, they are not the basis for which we can actually provide an unconditional offer of admission. If there are specific circumstances that are preventing you from being able to provide your final formal grades being reported by the institution that you're graduating from, if there is something that is preventing that, certainly we want to know that, and we work with students individually. What you will have seen over the last few months is that Lakehead has taken many steps to provide immense flexibility to our applicants, to support them through this time, and to be able to work with students on an individual basis, to be able to assess both the circumstances that are affecting their ability to provide those required documents and to adapt where necessary. And so our approach has been to do this on an individual basis, working directly with students, because each of you have your own unique and complex scenarios that are influencing your life and what is happening. And so we want to be able to address that right there. The good news is that an unconditional offer letter is not required for anything in terms of your application to the university or even your application for a visa. Patrick was just speaking shortly ago. There is nowhere that on the Government of Canada's website or in their protocol that states you have to have an unconditional offer of admission to be considered for a visa to enter Canada. And we know that students are receiving visas based on those conditional offers of admission. The government knows and understands that at this stage of the game, you may not be, have those final grades in place just yet. And the other thing that the Government of Canada has done is they are encouraging all applicants for visas to include and submit letters from the student, from the applicant, that outline the particular circumstances impacting their visa application. So if for some reason you cannot provide a document, or you can't access a document, or whatever the case might be, you do have the opportunity to submit a background and a rationale about that as part of your visa application. And the government has been very clear that they are open to receiving those documents and those explanations that help to support your application for a visa. So like I said, at this time, our current admission policies relating to requiring those final transcripts, whatever the case may be, to issue unconditional offers, again, those are only being examined and looked at on an individual basis. So what you need to do as an applicant is to reach out to the respective admission office, whether that's undergrad or grad. So you'll see on the screen, Jordan has those contact emails there, and then we'd be more than happy to look at your individual circumstance and to determine the best foot forward. Thanks so much for that question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Robert. And while I have you, and maybe Sue, you might want to join in here too. Could you maybe speak to what Lakehead is doing right now and working with each individual department and faculty to discuss potential winter intakes? The question in the specific question at hand, is there a possibility of starting a winter intake for the Masters of English? So I'm not sure, maybe Sue can enlighten us to let us know if that discussion has already been happening or if that decision has been made.
For our social sciences and humanities program, so English, history, sociology, social justice, if you already have an offer of admission for September 2020, it would be on a case-by-case basis. So you'd have to contact us and let us know why you can't make it or why you're not interested in online studies in September. And then the department would decide if they're able to offer you winter intake. Right now, it's not a blanket. So like overall, yes, we are for social sciences and humanities programs. I can run down a list of programs that are accepting the winter intake as of yesterday. So electrical and computer engineering, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, Master of Science in Forestry, Master of Education, MBA program, and our computer science program. But once again, we do encourage you to start in September of 2020 if you can, and then hopefully we'll all be back on campus in the winter term.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Sue. So the next question we have is, when can applications be sent for fall 2021 and / 2022 intake? So typically when our fall applications open for the following year will actually happen 1 year in advance. So what we've seen in the past is, for example, we will open that application in October, or maybe the end of September for the following year. So we open it nearly a year in advance, but right now it is too early to encourage you to apply that late, because those applications are of course not open. And then maybe I'll pass it off to Natalie first to speak to when winter 2021 applications typically open.
Sure, thanks so much for your questions. So we are hoping to open up the winter 2021 application at the end of this month. So just a few weeks away, we will be opening up the winter 2021 application. And then at the end of September, early October, we'll be opening up the fall 2021 application.
Awesome. And then I'll pass it off to Sue to answer the same question with regards to when we'll open application for winter 2021.
Hi, Jordan. So I haven't heard otherwise. We generally do open before the end of October for the following term. So I haven't heard otherwise that we're opening early. So I think at this point, we're just sticking to that unless we hear otherwise.
Alrighty, thank you so much. So we do have a question with regards to a specific conversion between a GPA. It is what percentage is equivalent to a GPA of 2.71. So I'll pass it off. I'm not sure if Robert maybe is able to answer that one, or if that's something that maybe we need to connect with the student after the fact.
So what I would say, unfortunately, there's many things that go into conversion of grades, and so in terms of equivalencies, it all depends on the system it's coming from, what system it's going to, and every institution is going to have its own equivalent charts and things that it works from. So I would recommend that Sarika would reach out to the respective admissions office directly, and then they can look at their particular scenario. However, if it's about translating a Lakehead grade into another institution, they need to be speaking to that receiving institution. At the end of the day, everyone must remember that the decisions relating to admissions, grade conversion, all those kinds of things, that is at the purview of the receiving institution. So just like Lakehead, we have our own policies and procedures on how we handle grades, how we treat different curriculums and systems in the world. That is at the discretion of the receiving institution. So it's not up to us to say how someone else is going to treat a grade or treat a course or anything like that. And so the best rule of thumb in all cases is, if you've applied to an institution, your questions should be directed to that institution directly for response. No one else should be answering on behalf of another institution. So so that would be my my advice for Sarika in terms of getting some assistance with a better understanding the grade conversion.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarity, Robert. And just a reminder of viewers, so if you're joining us once again on Zoom or the Zoom platform, you can submit questions to both our undergraduate and graduate admissions teams as well. Like I said before, we do have some dedicated international enrollment members here to answer general Lakehead questions. You can submit those questions on Zoom using the Q&A function. If you are over on our Facebook live stream, you can always comment on that video, and we do have Lakehead experts behind the scenes that are answering those questions as well. And then if you're watching this as a recording, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube, you can certainly comment on that video, and we will receive the notification, and we will answer that question directly, or be happy to connect you with the proper team. I'd like to note also our general email is listed at the bottom of the screen. So International Enrollment's main email is welcome@lakeheadu.ca. So if you would like to connect with us after the fact and ask us any sort of question, we'd be happy to receive that question, of course, answer that, or at least connect you with the proper department on campus to get you the proper answer. We do have a question in the comments here or the chat, pardon me, is can we provide the site for applying for visa online? So maybe I'll ask Robert if he wouldn't mind pulling that link out for the Canadian immigration website where students can submit that online visa application. And we'd be happy to post it in the chat. If you also are watching this over on our Facebook or as a recording, once again, you can send us an email at welcome and we can kind of walk you through that process to get you on that website. We can't necessarily walk you through the full application, of course, online. Alrighty, so we have another question with regards to a student who would like to know the IELTS requirements for Masters in Women's Studies and Masters in Gerontology. So I'll pass it off to Robert to Patrick to speak to that.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Thank you for that question. For most Lakehead University programs, the IELTS requirement is 6.5 with no individual band score less than 6. And I believe that both the Masters of Arts in Women's Studies and the Masters of Gerontology do fall into this requirement. I will post a link in the chat where you can read about all of our English language requirements and all the different test scores that we accept. But for IELTS specifically, it's 6.5 with no individual score lower than 6.
Just to add on that as well, Jordan, we have to be careful because we don't actually have a program in women's studies or in gerontology. Those are both specializations. So you have to apply to, say, the Master of Arts in English program with the specialization in women's studies. So you just have to be careful with that. So the housing of the program would be the English. So if you apply to English, that would be the IELTS requirement that you would need for English, because women's studies and gerontology are the specialization. For further information about those two programs, the specializations are on our webpage. So if you go to graduatestudies.lakeheadu.ca, click on master's programs and scroll down to the very bottom. There's specializations available in gerontology and women's studies are shown there. And then we also have our graduate studies view book online. And if you flip to the very back cover of that flip book, it shows you exactly which programs will take those specializations.
Awesome, thank you so much for adding that too as well. And the second part of the question is, could you also give me the complexity of both of the courses? So unfortunately, I can't speak to the complexities of those courses. I haven't completed them myself. But what we would encourage you to do is certainly reach out directly to that faculty or that department. Connect with the chair, the director, the coordinator, whoever it might be, and you can ask sort of questions and you can get a better idea. You can potentially even connect with them. They might be willing to set up a Zoom meeting with you and discuss the program in more detail. But unfortunately, I'm not able to speak to, of course, the complexity of that program. So the next question I have is for Natalie in undergraduate admissions. It is Lakehead still accepting applications for the consecutive Bachelor of Education program for fall 2020?
Thank you so much for your question, and I may actually be able to answer your previous question that you had as well, now knowing what program you are interested in. So we are still accepting applications at both campuses for our consecutive Bachelor of Education program. As an applicant to the Bachelor of Education program, we do require a course-by-course assessment done by World Education Services, WES. And so we actually we take the average that WES has converted on your transcript. So you're required to contact WES directly, send your documents to them. They do a course-by-course assessment of your degree. Wherever it was completed, they send that to us digitally, and then we will assess you for the education program. So we do take the average that WES has converted for you.
Awesome, thank you so much for that, Natalie. And I think this would be a great opportunity to remind our viewers, and especially this student, that on Monday we'll be meeting up once again with Natalie and Patrick to discuss how to apply to an undergraduate program, as we are still accepting applications for fall 2020 in several of our undergraduate programs. Of course, there are a few that have closed and we've filled the seats already, and those are our limited enrollment programs already. So I certainly encourage you to join us over on that webinar. It will be on Monday, June 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or as I like to say, Thunder Bay time. And we'll be walking through the application process, speaking about admission requirements, how to submit documents, all that sort of stuff. If you have more questions about the Bachelor of Education program, and if you need more clarity, I certainly encourage you. You can ask that right now, certainly, but of course we'll dive into that application on Monday once again. And I would also like to note for those viewers that are joining us on Zoom, if you head over to the Zoom webinar chat now, Robert has thankfully posted the link to the Canadian immigration website, so you can learn more information about how to apply for your study permit to enter Canada and study within Canada. As well, it includes a link to place that online application. And another note is the fact that Patrick also posted the links to learn more about the gerontology and women's studies specializations within that Masters of English program that Sue mentioned. And last but not least, Patrick also thankfully posted the link to the English language proficiency requirements for our program. So that link is also in the chat. So the next question we have is, I'll pass this one off to Robert. Would international student fees be adjusted if a student gains permanent residency status during their studies?
Thanks so much, Sarika. That's a great question. And so the answer is yes, absolutely. So when you look at the university, we have two rate cards for our tuition. One is for Canadian citizens or permanent residents of the country, and the second is for international learners. The reason for the difference between those two is that Canadian citizens and permanent residents, they actually are able to receive subsidies, government subsidies behind the scenes. So basically the government pays for 2/3 of the portion of your education, and then a student is only required to pay 1/3 of the, that's sort of roughly the math, to pay. Whereas for an international student, you are required to pay the full rate for the tuition costs. So, so yes, if your status changes and you become a permanent resident of Canada, once your status changes, you will then be eligible to pay those domestic fees. So, so the important thing is if you know your status is changing or it's coming up, or when it does happen, is to be in touch with the finance office. So Chris Gallinger is currently the International Accounts Officer, and he can certainly assist you with that. You would obviously have to provide that documentation to show your status change. But if once that happens, then they would absolutely make adjustment for the next semester that you were studying based on your current status. So yes, so to answer your question, for sure, and welcome to Canada if and when that happens.
Awesome. Thank you so much for addressing that, Robert. So right now we don't have any open Q&A, so I'd like to remind our viewers once again, if you do have questions for either one of our team members or special guests that are joining us, it would be great to ask that live now. Of course, you can always follow up and connect with us after the fact. Like I said before, both our admissions emails are on the screen, so if you're pursuing undergraduate studies, you can visit, or you can email intl.admission@lakeheadu.ca. If you're pursuing graduate studies, you can email gstudent@lakeheadu.ca, and we'd be happy to address those questions offline if you haven't had the opportunity to join us today. Oh, we just received another one. So we did receive a question, and I'll pass this one off to Robert. The question is, how will online learning be a benefit as a student?
Thanks for that, Jordan. You know, this is a really, we're facing a really interesting time right now, because for a lot of students, the idea of starting their university experience online is a bit of an unknown, and perhaps even a little bit scary, nervous, uncertain. You know, these are the kinds of emotions that everyone is experiencing right now, both in terms of our daily lives. You know, we all, in addition to being excited, and we're all passionate about Lakehead and excited about, you know, everyone starting their programs this fall, there's also sort of the nerves and anxieties around what's happening around the world with the global pandemic that's currently underway. But one thing about, you know, all of us as people, as humans, is that we're resilient people, and we all have a dream and a vision for how we want our future to play out, and we share in that commitment to making that happen. And so the university has announced that this fall we will be looking at a mixed blend, primarily online form of education. And students, in terms of doing anything in person, will be very controlled and very limited. So for a lot of students, you know, the likelihood is they will be starting their programs and their courses online. this is definitely, for most students, uncharted territory. Perhaps they've never done this before, and they're a little bit worried about this. The one thing I can assure you is that Lakehead University has been delivering courses and programs online for many, many years, and so we actually have a lot of experience doing this. So while it may feel new to you, it's certainly not new for us, and we've developed the systems, the processes, the teaching techniques, the tools to be able to do that really effectively. And so I want to assure everyone that starting your program this fall online is still a great, good, wonderful thing. And you're going to have an incredible university experience. You're going to learn, you're going to engage with your professors, you're going to engage and learn from your fellow classmates. You know, you will not be necessarily all sitting together in one classroom, but the world with the level of connectedness that we have, the tools that are at our disposal, we can just as easily create a virtual classroom that feels very similar to being in the same room, as it were. And so we're really fortunate to be living in a time where we have these kinds of technologies and tools that are available. We actually think there are some real pluses to having this opportunity to study online. For all of the fears and anxieties that come with it, we think that for students, this is really going to give you some great advantages, actually. One of them is, of course, your ability to demonstrate your resiliency. If you imagine, in a few years' time, you're going to be graduating from university. So it's right now you're all thinking about the startup, but if you think ahead a little bit further and finishing school, because that's going to happen, you're going to finish university, you're going to get your degree, you will be entering into the workforce. And one of the things that employers look for is not only did you get a good education, do you have that education, but what are your skill sets, your soft skills as well. And resiliency and the ability to face a challenge and not shy away, but actually tackle and embrace that challenge, that's a skill set that employers really value, because they can trust that you're going to face a challenge as an employee and you're not going to be afraid to deal with it. You're not going to be afraid to face that challenge. And so I kind of look at our current scenario as you have a challenge ahead of you. Yes, it's going to be different than maybe what you're used to, but it can be achieved. You can tackle this, you can grab a hold of this challenge, and you can work through it. And by doing that, you'll be able to sit in front of that employer and go, let me tell you about my first year at university and what I faced and what I did to not only embrace something that was changing and different and new, but also how I developed the skills to thrive in that environment. And I really think that if we shift our mindset a bit away from the fear of it and really look at it as a challenge that we can all tackle and embrace and work through together, then I think it can be a really positive experience for students. And the thing to remember is the university, we are here to help you. We are committed to making sure that you can have the most positive, most successful experience possible. Even though you may not be on campus, all of our support services, our tutoring centers, our counseling centers, our academic support centers, all of those things that you would normally experience in person, you will still have access to online and from a distance. And whether it's virtual through a computer screen and a live Zoom like we're doing right now, or whether it's through other forms of connectedness, you will be supported. And Lakehead is committed to supporting you through this. So I think this is definitely a challenge that we all face. Certainly, we all have had our lives changed in many different ways, and we're having to face those challenges together. But that's what we do. That's what people do. We don't run away from challenges. We don't sort of say, well, I'm just going to hit pause because this might be too difficult or might be too challenging. We look ahead and we go, okay, this is different, but different is not bad. Different is just different. And I'm going to develop new skills. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start my program this fall, and I'm going to work through any challenge that I face. And so I really think that developing that resiliency is going to be great. The other thing is that what we are seeing right now is the world is definitely changing. We're seeing even major employers and companies are changing as well. Already, Twitter, one of the largest social media platforms, even Facebook, have announced that now that they have folks working from home and they've adjusted to this style of working, they have no intention of going back to the old-fashioned model of everyone leaving their homes, coming and descending into a giant high-rise building and being crammed into tiny cubicles and working. They're actually, those companies, some have announced that they are not going to be doing that anymore. They're going to allow people to work from home, to work virtually, to be able to manage their tasks and to do their work remotely, because they can do that. We're at a point now where the technology is so robust that we're able to do that. And so as a student, if you are able to tackle your program, complete your courses, do well by doing that, and face those challenges, you will already be able to demonstrate to those employers that you can handle working at a distance. You can handle this. You have the skill set to do that. So if you think not just short term in terms of, wow, this seems different, this seems like it might be challenging, maybe I'm a little nervous or afraid of it, but if you think about the long term, which is, this is going to make me a better candidate for a job. I'm going to be able to be better at what I do and demonstrate that with real evidence and proof. I think it's actually going to be really beneficial for you. So I encourage you, all of you as applicants, even if you're feeling nervous, uncertain, scared, that's okay. That's totally normal. Some of us still feel that every day anyways when we get up and we try and, you know, do the best we can each day with the circumstances we face. But I know that all of you can do this. You have the ability to persevere. You have the ability to embrace this challenge. And we certainly encourage you to do that. But I want you to know, we are here to help you and support you, and you're not doing this alone. Even if it feels like that, you will not be alone. Lakehead is there for you. So join us, embrace that challenge, and I really think this could become a very positive thing for all of you that tackle this head on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for covering that, Robert. I think it's a very important and it's a common question that we've been receiving right now. So thank you for diving into that. Something I'd like to mention to reiterate something that you said, Robert, was the fact that some of the academic supports that were offered traditionally in person, of course, on campus, are already moving on to online methods and virtual meetings and whatnot. So if you head over to our YouTube channel and you check out our Lakehead International Lives playlist, we've already met up with the Student Success Center and several departments or units within that entire department, such as the Academic Support Zone, Career and Co-op Services, and we met up with them and we chatted about what this new online reality looks like for them already, and how we will be supporting students just like we were before in a new method of delivery. So those 3 individual webinars were really great sessions. I would certainly encourage you to head over to our YouTube and check them out and learn about what we've already done and put into place. In 2 weeks' time, on another Monday meetup, we'll be meeting up with Nancy Cahill, the Student Accessibility Services Manager, I believe is her role there. Or director maybe, it's one of the two. And she'll be chatting about all those online virtual methods that we are moving to continue supporting our students in this time. I would also like to note the time right now in Thunder Bay is 10:46 a.m. So we have about 15 minutes left with our special guests today for our Wednesday weekly. So if you do have questions, please submit those as soon as possible so we can start to answer them. And then roughly at 5 to 11, we'll have to cut the questions at that point and then move on to the wrap-up phase. So going back into the Q&A, we do have a question. Is there a point of contact for visa processes within the university? I need some guidance to help understand the Canadian student visa. So we actually are lucky enough to have a dedicated immigration advisor within the international team. Her name is Jennifer Hay. And she actually can help you look into and help further explain the Canadian visa processes. If you have questions, you can connect with her. Maybe I'll ask Patrick to put her information in the Zoom chat. And then for those of you joining on Facebook or watching this as a recording, again, like I've said before, if you would like that same contact information, or if you would like to be connected with Jennifer, our immigration advisor, you can send us an email at welcome@lakeheadu.ca, and we'd be happy to make that connection for you. So another question that we received, I know that the student in question is pursuing an undergraduate, but I will have both undergraduate and graduate speak to this. First, Natalie, what is the application fee and deadline for this fall for international students?
Yeah, So as you were inquiring about the 2-year Bachelor of Education program, so the application is still open. The official deadline has passed. However, we are keeping that application open. However, it could close at any time due to capacity reasons. So what I would encourage you is, if you are planning to apply for the 2-year Bachelor of Education program, that you would apply as soon as possible. You do need to submit your application through the Ontario University's application center through the TEAS application. The TEAS fee is 159 Canadian dollars. So again, I'd encourage you to submit that application as soon as possible, as we may close the application once the program reaches capacity.
Awesome, thank you so much. And then I'll pass it over to Sue. Sue, correct me if I'm wrong. Graduate Studies has closed all of their applications for the upcoming fall cycle. Is that correct?
That is actually not correct, Jordan. We do
Sorry.
have some programs that are still open. Our programs that are full have closed. So our highly competitive programs such as psychology and Master of Public Health, computer science, they have closed. There are still many options available. And the application fee is $100. And much like Natalie said, I do recommend applying as soon as possible, because the programs reserve the right to close them at any point in time, since February 1st was our recommended deadline that we've obviously extended for quite some time. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for clarifying, and thank you, Natalie, also for addressing that student-specific question. We do have another question with regards to being admitted into the Masters of Science in Computer Science project-based program, and they do wish to transition into the thesis-based program within Masters of Science in Computer Science. They would like to know what that process looks like. So what I can actually recommend is that if you head over to our YouTube channel, we sat down with one of the chairs within computer science, Salamir Chanduri, and he actually discussed this exact question. That hour-long Faculty Friday live session was really informative. We answered plenty of questions. We had plenty of viewers on there. And it was a constant back and forth between our audience members and, of course, our special guests answering these types of questions. So if you head over to our YouTube, you can check out that recording. And also built into that same webinar, while we answered questions, we certainly chatted about the program and some of the specialized facilities and offerings that are built into that course. So right now we don't have any more open Q&As. So I'd like to encourage our viewers, if you're still with us, to ask those questions, submit via the Q&A. Once again, if you're on Zoom, you can use the Q&A function. If you're over on Facebook Live, you can use the comments. And if you're watching this as a recording, you can still comment on that video after the fact. And we will receive the notification, and our team will be happy to address that answer, or at least connect you with the proper department. So in the meantime, while we don't have any Q&As, maybe I'll pass it over to Robert, if that's okay. And he can potentially start to preface what our online virtual orientation is going to look like. I know that he's been involved in a few conversations, and he might have a bit of an idea or a sneak peek as to how we're going to be connecting with students in the upcoming weeks about a longer orientation process over the summer to welcome new students to the Lakehead University community this upcoming fall.
Thanks, Jordan. Yes, I think that's, you know, for a lot of students now, there may be some of you who have decided you are making, you know, you have made a decision to accept your offer, you are planning to come this fall, but you're not totally sure what the fall, what the experience is going to be like online and the whole orientation to university and all this transition. So while I don't have specifics that I can share necessarily this morning, what I can tell you though is that the Student Success Center at the university, as well as the International Student Services Center. They are working together to create an entirely brand new and robust online orientation experience. And actually yesterday there was an email that went out. So if you have not been logging into your Lakehead University email address, so that's your official Lakehead email, please do so, because you should have received an email as an incoming student to Lakehead that gives you a bit of a sneak peek of what's coming. And so what we're going going to be doing is we're going to be leveraging online learning platforms. So you'll be able to connect remotely, take part in a series of modules that will help you with the transition to your studies this fall. It's a good way to also get a sense and a taste of what it's like to be engaging with content online through the different platforms that we use at Lakehead to deliver online courses. So it gives you a little bit of a preview, and also, of course, will help you in terms of some of the tips and tricks around how to successfully study online and at a distance. So again, like I spoke about a short while ago, our commitment to you is 100% in terms of making sure that you have the skills and you have the abilities to be successful through online learning. And so this new online virtual orientation is just one way that we're going to be helping you prepare for your upcoming fall semester. So definitely, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you're logging into your Lakehead University email account. The details were sent to you as part of your response to applying to the university. That allows you to access not only your email, but also the My Info portal, which is your application portal to Lakehead. So make sure you're doing that and you're checking that regularly. And then get yourself ready. Over the coming weeks, more information about that orientation will be shared with you, and more details are certainly forthcoming. But we're kind of excited to see this new way of engagement, and it's going to be something that you'll be able to do over the course of the summer. So it's something you can sort of do at your own pace, but at the same time give you that opportunity to stay connected with Lakehead and to continue to prepare yourself as you get ready for the fall. So we're excited to see that launch. It is coming over though in the coming weeks, and I'm sure all of you are going to enjoy it, and we encourage every single new student coming to Lakehead to take advantage and to complete those online orientation modules. We think you're going to have a lot of information there that will be very valuable as you get ready to start off this fall.
Awesome. And also to echo something, I think I saw both a smile on Natalie and Sue's face when you mentioned, of course, monitoring your Lakehead email and checking that on a regular basis. That's something that we always certainly encourage with our applicants. Once again, like Robert said, if you haven't already been active on your MyInfo account or you haven't been checking your email, can't access it quite yet, please reach out to us directly. Like I've said before, our emails are listed on the screen. You can connect directly with us and we can help you troubleshoot if you are having troubles accessing your MyInfo account or your Lakehead email. We'd certainly love to address that. The next question, the final question of today's session, is going to be for Sue in graduate studies. The question is, hello, I have already paid my year one fees and the confirmation deposit. Can I defer to winter 2021 for the Masters of Science in Computer Science?
The answer is yes, you can. So I would recommend you email gstudent@lakeheadu.ca, let them know that you want to defer. They will send you the deferral form for you to fill out and send back to us. And then we will reissue you the offer letter for winter 2021 intake with the further details.
Awesome, thank you so much. And without further ado, I'll begin my wrap-up process. So once again, I always encourage our viewers to follow us on our social media channels. We do have our own focused international channels. So if you head over to Facebook, you can find us at Lakehead University International. We do have a Facebook group within that page. It's for the incoming class of 2020. It is not specific to international students. It is for all incoming students. We were the first ones to launch that page, so we were lucky enough to kind of grow that audience quite large right now. I believe we're at 320 or just over that, with many requests come in daily to be added to that group. There are a few questions you have to fill out, such as what program you'll be entering, when you will be entering, and then as well we ask you to confirm your name and your Lakehead ID. That Lakehead ID can be found at the top of your letter of acceptance or offer of admission. And those sort of details just allow us to confirm that, of course, you will be entering a Lakehead program, and so that we can make sure it's a really curated audience and you can start connecting with potential roommates, future classmates, even folks back home. In your hometown right now, you can start connecting with them. It's great to see some of the conversations that are happening, and also seeing other fellow applicants and future students helping each other through different processes that they've already done within the procedures to join Lakehead University. Like I've said before, we're also on we're on Instagram, pardon me. Lakehead International is our handle. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we do an Instagram live at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Tomorrow, we will be doing a live with Jonathan, who is from Mexico. So we're going to chat about his program, which is biotechnology. We're also going to chat about his involvement in the Lakehead soccer team. And we're going to chat about his student experience and academics in general. So it's a great opportunity for you to get to know Jonathan a bit more, but also hear about his Lakehead experience and ask him questions too. We're always happy to have him answer questions. We always love receiving fun questions like, what's your favorite restaurant in Thunder Bay? Or where's your favorite hangout spot? We don't necessarily cover that in informational webinars such as this because it's more formal, but obviously I love speaking to my favorite cafes in town and all that sort of stuff. We're also on Twitter, Lakehead INTL, and YouTube, Lakehead University, with 2 dedicated playlists for international students and international audience members. So the Lakehead International playlist is a go-to for learning more about Lakehead, hearing about student experiences, all that sort of stuff. And the Lakehead International Lives playlist is where all of our webinars are recorded and uploaded after the fact. So this webinar, as we speak today, it will go off to our video production officer, and she will actually edit that out and send it off to our YouTube channel within a few hours, hopefully. Last but not least, if you do have an opportunity to take a virtual tour, a campus tour of either Thunder Bay or Aurelia, all you have to do is head over to lakeheadu.ca/tours. It's something that you can do at your own pace, so you can explore the facilities, the surrounding environment, the nature. You can get to see all these beautiful places that we have on campus. And again, it's at your own pace. There's no appointments necessary. So if you choose to start today and finish off tomorrow or later this week, that's totally fine with us. We certainly encourage you to explore, because we know once you see our campuses, once you see sort of where we get to live and work every day, I think that it will definitely help you make that decision to pick Lakehead University. So once again, thank you to our special guests for joining us. This is, oh gosh, probably week maybe 10 or 12 with everyone. We've had some great conversations. We've covered quite a bit. There's still more upcoming. We have more lives upcoming, as I've mentioned. Always stay connected with us. And once again, thanks for joining us as audience members. Bye for now, and hopefully we'll see you over on Instagram tomorrow.